So I'm going to ask you to close your eyes for a minute. Okay? And I'd like you to ask yourself the following 3 questions. Are you who you want to be? Are you who you were meant to be? And finally, from whom did you learn who you were meant to be? So finding the answers to those 3 questions, they seem very simple. They're very simple questions. But finding the answers is not always as easy as we'd like to believe, because we are, like it or not, a product of how we were raised, a product of our environment, of our society, of our media. So understanding who we are is the first step in truly knowing who our authentic self is and how to express that authenticity. Now, Calvin Coolidge said that there is no development physically or intellectually without effort, and effort means work. Understanding our authentic selves is not, you don't just wake up one morning and say, this is me. You truly have to do the work. You have to go within and understand, why do you think the way that you do? Where do your beliefs come, and are they truly your beliefs? It really does take work to be authentic. It's hard to be authentic in a world that tells you that you need to conform. It's very difficult. It's actually easier just to let people tell you who you're supposed to be and do it. You may not be happy, but it's going to be easier. Now, I could stand here and be very hypocritical and tell you that I live my authentic life. I don't. I can say without hypocrisy that I'm constantly working and striving to be that authentic me. I would love to be able to say here that I am always 100% authentic, and I'm not. It's very difficult to be so. So as we go through this morning, just remember, I don't have all the answers. I can tell you what being authentic means to me and how I try to live. And some days I fail miserably, and other days I kind of do a good job. So for me, my wake-up call to really wanting to be authentic, to living that authentic life, was when my mother died. Up till that time, I'd pretty much allowed the world to tell me who I was and who I shouldn't be. And I molded my personality around her. I molded my personality to where I worked. I molded my personality to my friends. I let everybody tell me who I was, to the point that I didn't know who I was. And when she died, I was very, very lost. I did not know how to be me. I really didn't. The one person that I thought knew me the best was now no longer here. So it became a huge wake-up call for me to go within myself, to go inside and to understand who I wanted to be, and to come out of the shadows and to quit hiding, because that's pretty much what I had done my entire life. I had hid. I had been what everybody said I needed to be and lived according to their rules and their guidelines, never quite understanding where I fit into that equation. And I also decided that I needed to find my passion. In order to be authentic, I had to find my passion. I didn't know what it was, but I knew it was there. And I knew there was a creative side in me, but I didn't know how to express it. So I had a lot of work to do. The very first thing I had to do in order to be able to begin this journey was to find acceptance for myself. I had sought acceptance from outside. I had sought validation from outside. And what I had to learn to do was find it within myself, to truly accept me for who I was and not expect that everybody else was going to validate me. Now, I'm a Leo, and I'm also a sun sign. So attention is very important to me. To move from a point of not wanting to be validated and also needing that attention is really difficult sometimes, because I'd really love to say, oh, I don't care if you like me or you don't, because the bottom line is I do care. And I tend to think that most people that say, well, I don't care if people don't like me, honestly, my belief is that there's a part of them that does. Because if you didn't care, you wouldn't have a need to say it. That saying, I don't care, actually translates to, I'm going to protect myself, and if you don't like me, I've already told you that I'm okay with that. Okay? So that's not being authentic. Being authentic truly would be not caring, but also not needing to tell everybody that you don't care. In order to be authentic, though, we need to understand what authentic actually means. Because I think sometimes we confuse being authentic with being rude. So what authentic to me is not. This is not authentic. Walking up to somebody and saying, I'm a slob, this is me, if you don't like it, tough. Being authentic to me is not just speaking my mind regardless of what I think or how I feel, if it's going to make others feel poorly about themselves or about their situation, just because I can. Not all of our opinions need to be shared. That's not being authentic. One of my biggest dreams, one of those things I look so forward to in life, is growing up to be a grouchy old man. That was what I told everybody I wanted to be. I wanted to be a grouchy old man. A couple weeks ago, maybe a month ago, I was telling somebody that, and they looked at me and they said, what do you mean become? You already have it down. It was at that moment that I realized that that really wasn't who I wanted to be. I had created this ideal of what I thought being authentic was. And it was being that person that, shooed all the children off his lawn, that told everybody exactly what he was thinking, and that was known in the whole neighborhood as being the one to stay away from. Don't make Nathan mad. I sort of liked that idea in concept, but when it was thrown back at me, and that mirror was held up and they said, but you already have that down, it's like, okay, I haven't reached that age yet where I thought I'd be there. And so I realized that that for me wasn't authentic. And that's not who I want to be. Brian McGill says, people spend their lives trying to learn everything that exists beyond them in the hope of finding the truth that already lies within. This struck me as being really profoundly powerful in realizing that to be authentic is to know yourself. It is to go within and to be your own counsel, to understand why I believe what I believe. For so many years, I lived being someone that I wasn't. To such a point that it has taken me even more years to sift through all of those elements to, I'm going to say, remember who I was meant to be. Because I think I had a clue when I was younger, and then I let everything, all external influences, the media, my friends, my family, my teachers. I had teachers that basically told me I would never amount to anything. I was one of those students who hated school. I loved learning. And I'm not going to brag here, but I'm going to. One of the reasons I hated school was it went too slow for me. And I got bored. And when you have somebody that gets bored with how slow their learning happens, then they do start to fall behind and they start ignoring things. Well, I'd always prove just how much I knew because we'd get to the end of the year and they'd be about ready to fail me. And they'd give me one last chance, and I would have 2 or 3 weeks to catch up on an entire year's worth of work. And every year, I repeated the cycle over and over again. So basically, then I was just lazy. And really what it came down to was I was bored. I was very, very bored, but I had teachers that told me I would never amount to anything. I was raised by a stepfather who said I would absolutely never amount to anything, that I was worthless, that I was stupid, that I couldn't dance, I couldn't sing, pretty much anything I couldn't do. I was not into sports, and I'd go out and play sports with him because that's what you're supposed to do, and I was horrible at it. I think mainly because I didn't like him. But I allowed all of these things to slowly chip away at who I was going to become in this life. Fortunately, about 5 years ago, I decided that who I had become wasn't who I wanted to be. And so my goal in life, from now until the day I take my last breath, is to live my authentic self, to be who I was intended to be who God intended me to be, find my purpose, and find my bliss. And I'd like to say I woke up and I knew all the answers, and I don't. On any given day you can ask me and I kind of have a different purpose. It generally falls along the same line, but I can tell you what my main purpose in life is now, is to be loving and to be kind whenever possible. Now, a lot of people will tell you it's always possible. And theoretically, it is. In the moment, it sometimes does not feel that way. So I have to also learn to forgive myself as I go through those moments and realize that I'm human. It's like we say, embrace our humanity. Well, we're gonna have those days where we just can't be 100% positive and loving. We're going to have those moments where we say things that we wished we hadn't said because they really did not serve you, they did not serve somebody else. This search for authenticity, to be who we're meant to be, it is a never-ending journey. It doesn't stop. Even when you think you are 100% sure you know who you are and you are being authentic, you are still growing, you are still learning, you're still advancing. It is an absolutely never-ending journey. This story that we're living, each chapter is waiting to be written, and every moment is waiting to be lived, and to be lived authentically. The reading that Randy did this morning, to me, was very powerful. And the one that struck me the most is the no judgment. And I think of all those 5, the no judgment has probably got to be the hardest not to do. Because we, as a society, as a people, we have a tendency to feel entitled to judge. If you don't agree with me, you are wrong. Am I right? That is a form of judgment. If we actually came back into a space and said, it's okay for you to believe what you believe. This is what I believe. That's not judging. It's not telling them that they're wrong, because I will tell you what is right for you is oftentimes not going to be right for me. What is the best course of action for you is not going to be the best course of action for me. We have to realize that while we are all a part of the whole, we're all a part of the divine, we are also all individual. We are very, very unique in what we need and in what will feed our souls and help us to advance to those levels of being a lot more authentic. We should never assume that someone else is not living their authentic life just because they're not living your life. If they are living your life according to your rules, according to your beliefs, then they're living your life, not theirs. And we all have got to realize and accept within ourselves that we have the right to believe what we believe, to live as we wish to live, but so does everybody else. Now, as I say that, this thought keeps coming out of my head. Well, what about the criminals? What about the people in prison? All of those. And you know, honestly, that is their life to live. It is their struggle and their path. Do I have to agree with what they did? Absolutely not. Do I accept that as my reality? No. But if I stand in a place of judgment against them, then honestly, I need to take a look in the mirror and find out what is it about them that I'm judging about myself. Because being truly authentic means you're not judging anybody. And I truly, truly do believe that. And it really is okay not to agree with others. It's absolutely okay. In fact, I prefer when people don't agree with me, because it causes me to question my own beliefs, to question my own path, and to make sure that I really am living what I believe. And sometimes those beliefs will change. It doesn't make what you believe before wrong, it just means you've evolved. You've evolved to a different level, to a different step. Maybe what you believe today is not what you believe tomorrow, and yet what you believe today, you didn't believe yesterday. So it's constantly changing and moving, and as we learn, as we expand, as we share, as we live by example. And to me, the number one thing about living authentically is our lives are an example. How we live is what teaches other people. Not what we say, not what we demand of them, not what we tell them, you're wrong because you believe this. Live your life. Be that example. And in that way, you will definitely be authentic. And I also think bliss equals authenticity. I keep seeing all these things online talking about finding your bliss, how to find your bliss, how to find your happiness. And really, I think it boils down to one thing. When you love what you do, you will love who you are. We often, and I think it's horrible that we tell children that they have to decide what they're going to be career-wise, 16, 17, 18 years old. They haven't even had a chance to experience the world and to figure out what's out there. So we have a whole generation, and it keeps being repeated, this cycle. Every year it's recycled over and over again. Go to school, get a degree in this, because this is who you are. And if I went by that when I was 5, I would have been Superman. When I was 10, I would have been a policeman. When I was 16, I would have been a lawyer. And I can go on and on. We don't know what we want to be until we've actually lived a little bit of life. So we start off when people are very, very young, already molding them to fit into society. Because we don't like uniqueness. We say we do, but let somebody be unique and listen to all the people coming down on them. But our bliss definitely equals authenticity. Many of us, throughout our lives, we have been neglected, we've been betrayed, some abused, and we develop preservation tools that we now start calling authentic. In order, because I have been attacked, I'm going to make sure that somebody can't hurt me anymore. So I develop this personality, and all of a sudden I just say, if you don't like it, deal with it. This is me. That's not being authentic. Being authentic means always being true to your beliefs and your feelings, as well as allowing others to be who they are. To be authentic will never mean being cruel or thoughtless. And this is where I see the majority of people, when they are living their authentic life, they just say whatever comes to mind. And it doesn't matter who it hurts. It doesn't matter how well it is or is not received. This is who they are, and if you don't like it, deal with it. If you have to stop for a moment and wish you hadn't said something, or you feel guilty for doing or saying something, then chances are you weren't being authentic. You were practicing that self-preservation. Well, that is a really good test. If you want to know if you're living an authentic life, how do you feel about it? Did you feel guilty for doing or not doing something? Did you feel guilty for saying or not saying something? Did you wish you had not said it? Because if you wish you had not said it, then it doesn't fit who you are and what your beliefs are, thus you're not being authentic. So I would like to really wish all of you to have a very authentic journey in your life. And in this journey, that you're able to discover who you are, who you're meant to be, and also embrace who you will become. And with that, The divine in me recognizes the divine in you. Peace be with you. Thank you.